Hi, this is going to be a very weird, casual commentary type video where I'm going to be going over some of the games that I played this year and how I feel about them. A lot of good games came out this year, but I'm just going to come straight out of the gate with it. Most of the games I'm going to be talking about didn't actually come out this year. Some of these games are going to be from way back, or some of them are going to be a few years back, maybe last year, but I wanted to talk about stuff I played this year, just so you know what I've been getting up to. I know I haven't really had the time to make any videos, but I've moved up here to do school stuff and blah blah blah, boring real life stuff. I've had less time to work on like actual videos. Next year, I kind of hope to get back into that with streaming. You can check out my Twitch, which I'll put in the description, which hopefully I want to do more streams on. Enough of the boring stuff out of the way, let's talk about some of the games I played. Now, I know I already made a video on Have a Nice Death, so I'm going to keep this one a little bit more brief. I hold quite a few similar feelings as to when I first played it. In fact, I think it's only gotten a lot better since I talked about it in that video. It's been polished up since then, it's had a couple of tweaks and bug fixes, and I have a lot of fun going back to that game every so often just to grind out a couple of runs. I really love the style of the game, the gameplay is so fluid, and I really wish it got a larger audience. If you have not given this one a go yet, please do, it's a great roguelike. I do have one small complaint about this game that I never went over in my video, and that's the difficulty options. So how the game progresses its difficulty is through the breakdown system, where basically once you beat a run on a certain breakdown, you unlock the next level where it adds a more challenging part of risk and stuff like that, altering the challenges and the scale of stuff. However, that system lacks the customizability to pick and choose what debuffs you want on your run. Take Hades for instance, that has the Pact of Punishment where you can choose every single difficulty option to the exact scale and which ones you want to pair up. I think that's just a way better system than Have a Nice Death, which has this really unforgiving stack upon stacks of challenges when sometimes I just want to go for a couple of them. Regardless, it's still a fantastic game that I am going to keep playing for a while to come. Fire Emblem Three Hopes, a game that came out last year but I decided to check out this year. So this game is really not pulling anyone in without reservation. If you already enjoy the world of Three Houses and the characters and the story in that, you're going to at least get something good out of this game. And for the most part, I think this game is fantastic. The characters are still on point, some are written even better than they are in the base game of Three Houses, and the gameplay is so fun and fluid. I love how it combines the essence of a Warriors game with the tactical strategy of a RPG like Fire Emblem. However, where I think this game falls short is in its story. This game's story is so damn messy. The endings, though I won't spoil them, completely ruined the entire game for me. It completely diminished all the point it came through playing it, and it made everything that happened up until that point feel quite worthless in the end. I've played through two of the routes at the minute. I played through Azure Gleam and Scarlet Blaze. I haven't tried out Golden Wildfire yet. I will get around to it, but if it's anything like the other two, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it as much as I did. I was really on board during my first playthrough. I was really enjoying the character interactions, the gameplay, and how things were progressing. The music in this game is next level, but the story really just raises more questions than answers. It really hinders itself from trying to play into the Three Houses narrative while also trying to be its own thing at the same time. I really feel like it was a weaker note to go out on for the Three Houses cast for what otherwise is probably my favourite Fire Emblem game. I don't know, I'll need to go back and check out some of the older ones at some point, but overall, pretty mixed bag of a game. Nintendo also re-released Pikmin 1 and 2 this year. I had a chance to check both of them out, and for the most part, both of them still hold up really well. I haven't completely completed Pikmin 2 yet, but I have played through Pikmin 1 many times by now. I think I prefer the first game over the second one, but maybe that will come with more repeat playthroughs. It's just such a nice vibe playing through the earlier games, getting used to a bit of the jank and seeing how the fundamentals of Pikmin really work. I will hold to it that I still think Pikmin 3 and 4 are better games, but the first two games still really hit the nail on the head. The only downside to the controls on the first two games is the way that you switch out your Pikmin. In the latter two games, you get to switch your Pikmin out even when you're not holding them, just so you can have them ready just for ease of comfort. But in the earlier games, you need to be holding your Pikmin and then switch out to the ones you need. It will always default back to the main Pikmin you have on your squad. It's a really weird obstacle to overcome, so let's say you have a ship part that's partially submerged in water and I want to throw a blue Pikmin at it. I need to hold down the A button so I've got a Pikmin ready to throw, switch out to my blue Pikmin, and then begin to throw. But the weird thing about the throwing in this game is that sometimes it can switch back to a Pikmin that you didn't want to throw. So if I switch out to blues, that means I'm not locked onto the blues. Sometimes I can switch out to the reds just because it feels like it. This is also very finicky when handling with bomb rocks. Sometimes you can throw Pikmin into their death. It's just not a very good system, and I really wish that was touched up for the re-releases, but other than that, they're fantastic ports. And the big one of this year, Pikmin 4. I have been anticipating this game for such a long time. Now, I haven't been playing Pikmin all of my life. I only got into Pikmin when 3 Deluxe came out, and I absolutely adore that game. But if you remember my reaction to when Pikmin 4 got announced, I was really hyped for it, and I'm really happy to say that this game really lived up to the hype and the potential. It is so damn polished, everything feels so good to control and look at and play with. Bringing back every single Pikmin type, having such a vast post-game, and a really interesting and fun replayable main game, this might be the perfect Pikmin game. Now, whether this is the perfect Pikmin game for me is kind of a different story. Personally, I think I still prefer 3 Deluxe to replay and play with over and over again, but 4 has so many good merits to it that I can understand why it would be someone's favourite. I think a couple of the drawbacks for me would be its difficulty. It is a really, really easy game, but I understand they wanted to try and tailor it for newcomers and make it a little bit more forgiving, and honestly, I can respect the hell out of that. Pikmin is a very daunting franchise to get into. Second would be the lacking customizability with the Pikmin. I really don't like how you can only bring 3 Pikmin types out at once. I feel like it's way too limiting, and for a game that brought out every single Pikmin type, I really wanted to see them all standing together. I just thought it would be a really cute, novel thing. And same with the customizability of Pikmin in caves. Sometimes I wanted to challenge myself and bring other types into the caves for me if I thought they might have suited my playstyle better, but no, they forced me into using the Pikmin types that were recommended. And finally is the night missions. Well, I don't think they're absolutely horrible. I do think they're a weaker point of the game that I don't really care to replay when I go back to Pikmin 4. Other than that, though, this is a fantastic game, absolutely one of the best on the Switch and a standout highlight. If you never played a Pikmin game before, absolutely go for it. I think it's an easy buy. I love pretty much every single thing about it, as it has charm brimming out of every single point of it. And finally, for the Nintendo portion would be the Mario Kart 8 DLC. Personally, I think this is a very underwhelming thing to come out of Nintendo from this point, but I can't say that I didn't have a lot of fun with it. It's a good thing that Mario Kart 8 fundamentally is just a very fun game to play, and that me and my friends always had a good time playing it in general, but it was really apparent that Nintendo didn't want to put in the polish to make this DLC a standout thing. They knew it was gonna sell, and god damn it absolutely sold. Graphics and gameplay can be very underwhelming, and I very rarely found myself comparing most of the DLC stuff to the absolute high quality of the base 8 game, which I think has some very strong contenders for track. Although I'm very happy to see tracks like Alpine Pass, Maple Tree Way, and Mario Kart 7's Rainbow Road come back, a lot of the other ones I just didn't care for. I will give a shout out though to the GBA tracks. Most of those that they revamped were actually really fun. Snowland, Riverside Park, and Bowser's Castle 3 especially have now actually become some of my favourites to play. Overall, I had a very fun and great time with Mario Kart 8 DLC, but god damn it Nintendo, please try harder. Now on to a probably controversial part of this video. Let's talk about some Sonic the Hedgehog for a little bit. So the Final Frontiers DLC wait, is it Final Frontiers or Final Horizons? I can't remember. Right, okay, it was Final Horizons, goddammit, I wrote that wrong in my notes. So, Final Horizons came out, and I was very, very hyped for the release of this DLC. Sonic Frontiers is a game that I have a very positive opinion on. I think it's one of the best Sonic games to come out in ages, even if it's a little bit janky. I don't know, I think Frontiers just left me with such a positive mood. I've never felt so good about playing a Sonic game since, I don't know, Mania. But I'm really, really sad to say that the Final Horizons DLC did not live up to the potential whatsoever. The 3 main characters that it introduced, Amy, Knuckles, and Tails, are very finicky to play. I think the best controlling one would be Amy. I think her movement is very satisfying to pull off, and I think she has enough varied movement that allows a lot of versatility in the open world. Knuckles and Tails, however, they were just not that fun to play whatsoever. It's very rigid in letting you play as certain characters at certain points, and the difficulty of this DLC was bumped up to such an astronomical degree that it made me frustrated and angry at so many different points. Like, I get it, Sonic Frontiers is not the hardest game, and the developers realized that, and completely went about addressing it in the entire wrong way. Adding these inexplicably hard, difficult, and sometimes outright unfair obstacle courses really made for an unsatisfying DLC to play through. Biggest point has to be the challenge towers, which you will absolutely love or you will absolutely hate. I have a lot of distaste for these towers. I wasted so many hours on them for what felt like such little reward. The obstacle courses felt so unconsidered for Sonic's movement and felt like I was breaking the game half the time whenever I made any progress. It just looked wrong and it felt wrong. It completely decimated the entire serenity of the open world. If you thought that the obstacles sticking out in the open world before the update were a problem, they are absolutely a detriment in this update. Everything is so damn ugly to look at, I don't know where I am. And because everything's so damn cheesy, I decided to cheese out most of the obstacle courses as well. And getting to a high elevation point with one character and then zooming off to one point just so I could grab an emblem that was up to a challenge that I couldn't access or didn't even know how to access at some points, made it more enjoyable than actually playing the damn game. The challenge with the Titans at the end, what in the hell were they thinking? I spent absolute hours on it. I had to change my difficulty back to easy mode so I could have an easier parry time. And I feel no shame in doing that. I was having so much difficulty and half the internet was having it as well. I will say though, the final battle does leave off with a good impression. I do quite enjoy the final battle. I think it has a very good scale, although the power-up is just useless in it. Although I will say, having to 100% the entire DLC for the game to even tell you how to beat the final boss, come on. I feel like I could go so much more in depth with this, so if you want another video going over Final Horizons, please tell me about it. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of my problems with that DLC, but for now it was just such a disappointment to experience. On a more positive note, Sonic Superstars came out and I thought it was okay. It is by no means a standout Sonic game. I don't think it's the absolute quality or peak of the franchise, I just think it's fine. And you know what, I think that's good enough. It is not that bad of quality, and Sonic's catalogue has been very rocky, and his track record has been very unstable over the past decade, that I'm okay with having a game that's just, you know, it's there, people like it, and we can move on. I like how most of the characters control, and I like most of the zone variety in this game. My two biggest points of contention have to be the bosses and the music. The bosses at times can be very lacking, and they are dragged out to such an insane degree. I vastly prefer it in the other games where if you were good enough, you could stack as many hits as possible. But in this game, they cap how many times you can hit the boss so they can do different phases to completely waste your time. That's something I'm not quite a fan of in games, and it really hurt the pace of Superstars for me. On top of that, the music, I am so sorry Jun Sanawe, but this was not your finest hour. After Sonic the Hedgehog 4, I don't really know why they would let that man near the classic keys again, but needless to say, while it doesn't sound horrible, nothing was memorable. Like, come on, you got Find the Sniper back and you're not going to give him a kick-ass tune? It's only those couple of gripes I have with Superstars. Overall, I had a good time with it. This is going to be a much shorter segment, but I got the chance to play the first two Sonic Adventure games, and my god, I really dislike them. I do not think these games have aged well in the slightest. I think their gameplay and controls are absolutely terrible. The flow of the game sucks. I do not like the level designs. Everything is so damn unpolished and unfun to play for me. I just don't understand the appeal in these games. Now, maybe this was because I was playing on the Steam port, which I have heard Sonic games have a very bad reputation with their Steam re-releases, but then again, I find so much to dislike about these two games that I really question why everybody calls these things the peak of the franchise. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can tell me why I'm wrong. I don't really care, I didn't like them, they weren't for me. And finally, Project 06, which, my god, this might just be my favourite 3D Sonic game. But I've lied when I said I didn't really like the adventure formula, because god damn it, this game does it incredibly well. Chaos X has done such a good job revamping this game and just re-sparking the potential that this game had in the first place. Obviously, if Sonic 06 had been finished back in the year it was released, then it definitely would not have looked as good as what Chaos X has done. But god damn it, we can dream, can't we? We're fixing the timeline with this one. I have had so much fun. I have S-ranked everything. I have gone back to replay it multiple times. I cannot wait. I hope Chaos X takes as much time as he needs to complete this project. Just what a nice change of pace and such a W for Sonic 06 fans. Now onto the portion where I just talk about some random indie games I played. Suika Game. My friend Luigi Guigi convinced me to play this game, and I've clocked several hours in this thing. I play around almost every night before I go to bed, and goddammit, this game is so infuriating but so calming at the same time. I don't understand how a game can do that. It's a very nice pace breaker of a game and not something I'd have expected to have played for as long as I did. Limbo and Inside, both games by Playdead Studios that I checked out for the first time this year. Limbo, I really like the first segment of the game and the art style. I think both things excel. I like the mystery it builds up, I like the creatures, and I like all of the enemies you face. but once you get to the second portion of the game, it kind of turns into just a big ol' obstacle course with a bunch of puzzle rooms one after the other, and it got really draining for me. I got less and less engaged with the world and became more and more frustrated as nothing of interest was really happening. I much preferred it in the first half where you had this enemy spider that you were up against in this clan of boys. Get me a little bit more engaged, but overall, not a bad game. Inside, however, oh my god. This game made me feel such a variety of emotions. It made me feel fear, happiness, sadness. Oh my god, this game is absolute mastery of how to create an atmosphere. And with no dialogue, it created such an intense story. Though I won't spoil the ending for you if you haven't checked it out yet, it absolutely left me speechless by the end. So much to think about, so many satisfying mechanics to pick up and learn. Inside is just one of those games that I just don't see that much of anymore. Absolutely one of my favourites that I played this year. And on the shorter side, Little Nightmares 2, this might be my favourite horror game of all time. I want to go so much more in depth about how this game establishes its world, creates tension and atmosphere through its gameplay, the interesting designs of the creatures and where they live and how they interact with the world. I have never played a game that made me see such beauty in grotesque and horrifying imagery. It also helps that this game has my favourite ending of any game ever. If you have not checked out this game yet, please go play it. You don't even need to play the first one to know what's going on. Needless to say, I love Little Nightmares 2 with all of my heart, and I cannot wait for the third one next year. Celeste, another very fun and emotional game. First, the gameplay, the tight-knit platformer mechanics in this game were so satisfying to learn every single time. I like how every level was just the right length, and it had something new and interesting going on that kept me engaged. My personal favourite had to be the Crystal Cave, where you had to transport Theo and throw him and jump off of different objects and throw him back and try and get you two through the puzzle rooms. I just found that a very satisfying loop to learn and relearn and keep going with. But on the story end of the game, it has a very, very impactful message about learning to understand yourself and overcoming the obstacles that are trapped within your mind. To themes of trust and friendship and acceptance, I think this game's narrative absolutely achieved everything it wanted to. And the music just elevates that to such an intense degree. Lena Raine, you are top of your game. Celeste is such a heartwarming and satisfying experience, and it's really weird to have a game that feels such like a rage platformer but is so calming at the same time. Take a break. Maybe get some coffee. How's your day going? Is it good? I'm glad. Next game is A Hat in Time, which I have heard a lot of good things about. A collectathon with fun and varied worlds and interesting and unique characters. That sounds right up my street, get me in there. For the first few worlds at least, right up until Snatcher, I was quite enjoying myself. But for some reason, the game just completely fell off after that. The fourth and fifth worlds really had nothing to offer me. I checked out the Seal the Deal DLC and I was bored out of my mind. The only DLC that I really enjoyed was the Yakuza Metro, but even then I don't think that was the best that the game had to offer. Honestly, this one was a mixed bag for me, something that I was more disappointed in than I thought I would be. It didn't click with me the same way others did, and I'm kind of upset that I didn't get to enjoy this as much as other people. Once we got past Deadbird Studios, I kind of lost interest in it. Points I will give it credit for though are the voice acting. I think everybody does a fantastic job in their roles, and the music once again is such a good standout. The boss themes especially. Obviously your contract has expired, Battle of Award 42. Almost every single music track is perfect for what it's trying to achieve. Honestly, if A Hat in Time interests you, go check it out. It wasn't entirely a game for me, but I'm okay with that. I tried it, and that's what matters. Gris, or Gris, or I don't know how you pronounce it. This game was recommended to me by my friend Cameo Sweets, and wow, what an interesting and emotional ride. This game is very serene. It really, really brings you into the wild atmosphere of this world and bringing colour back to it in small increments. There's not many games where I see music play such a huge role than it did here. Every single movement you do, the music is just reacting and swaying to what's happening on the screen. It feels so pretty, and you almost feel like an angel. This game is obviously very abstract in its themes, and I can't exactly decipher everything, but I don't know, it left me an emotional wreck by the end, and I absolutely love this game. I would gladly go back to it to play through it again. It is quite a linear game, but there's nothing wrong about that. It was very cohesive, it achieved exactly what it wanted to achieve, and I enjoyed pretty much every single minute of it. Gris gets an easy recommendation from me. It's only like a 2 to 3 hour game, so not much of a commitment. Firewatch. This is a game I kind of just picked up on a whim. I had no interest in it beforehand, I knew almost nothing of it, but it looked interesting enough, so I checked it out. It is so melancholic and down to earth. I don't think I've played a game before where I've been this invested in a character that's just going through the motions of reality, just trying to cope with something difficult that's happened in their life and just trying to find an out and connecting with someone because of it. There's interesting developments, everything feels real, and when it gets tense, you feel it because you believe these characters to be real. It doesn't end off bombastically, there isn't any big showdown or massive revelation, it just kind of ends. And I love it for that. It didn't try to be anything more than it needed to be, and somehow it felt like more. It's a very story-driven and linear game, but I would recommend this if you have no idea on what this game is about. If you're good with slower-paced games with not so much flashy dialogue, then I'd give this one a go. That's like a complete 180 shift. I played Lethal Company this year. Something my friends kept badgering me to get until they finally caved and gifted it for me. Thanks, Alexa. But needless to say, this is a very, very fun game. The lacking knowledge on what creatures you'll face whenever you jump into any facility and having to go in it with your friends with the proximity chat is just immaculate. This game takes very heavy inspiration off of games like Phasmophobia, but where I think this game succeeds over that game is in the proximity chat use. This game makes effective use of it by adapting to the location that the players are at, and also using your microphone as a mechanic against certain creatures. Sometimes you have to be really quiet against monsters, and sometimes you have to be absolutely screaming at them. It just adds an extra layer to a game that really justifies its use of proximity. Another thing I like how it does differently to Phasmophobia is the lacking knowledge on when people actually die. If someone perishes within the facility, half the players won't know about it until they return to the ship and see that the lifeless body is just on the monitor. It's very ominous, and I like how it brings in that sense of dread. I can see me playing this one with my friends for an absolute long time from now. I've had a lot of fun with that game, and I would easily recommend it if you've got a friend group that needs some laughs. And that's pretty much what I played this year. I had a lot of fun recording this. I like giving my opinions on things I've played, and maybe I'll do this next year. Well, hopefully I'll just upload next year. Thank you for watching this far if you have, and tell me what games you played and enjoyed this year. I'll see you 2024 or something.